local candidates?
No one wants to know my position on the national debt or how to balance our import-export from China, or how we're going to deal with fracking and the fact we're going to work negotiation, who we negotiate with.
I want to know which faucets are getting fiery water in which county.
Which faucets?
I was just sort of curious.
Which county?
No, it wasn't for Dr. Montoya, it was for Mr. Gourd.
Well,
Where are we having
some
that
in
problem?
Parker County,
Parker?
which is not in this district, but there's been also some methane pollution in Johnson County as well. There have been people in Johnson County that have been affected by the pollution in their water sources. And I brought up the fiery water because that's the image that people see most readily. That's the image that's in the movie Gasland. You can see YouTube videos about that. That's not necessarily.
Is that our
a huge
district
problem.
though? But was that in our district was my question. Those
I
videos.
can't tell you for sure if those videos were in our district. I brought it up because it's a striking image. And then I talked about the actual problems that are happening in our district.
Thank you.
And the actual problems that are happening in our district are the pollution, the earthquakes, and people in Johnson County told me that their roads are getting torn up by all that equipment. And those poor counties don't have the money to pay for them. And that's another problem that we have with infrastructure.
Like what you're hearing discussed, it goes back to a very basic question. That is, what is the relationship between the states and the federal government? The fracking bill that was mentioned previously within the House committee may eventually be addressed, but I think it still has to be worked out by the appropriate committee on environmental science. The other issue affecting the question of this fracking is that the area of our district most affected was about approximately 5 years ago, where a series of earthquakes affected Claiborne up in Johnson County. And that was very definitively associated with movements of the water, and where the water has come out of the ground, they left vacuum space, and that has caused the ground to shift, and then eventually a number of serious earthquakes. Sure.
These are great issues, and I'm all for both views. I'm wonderful with these issues. What I'd like to know is if whoever wins the primary, both of you please answer this question. What's your strategy for defeating an incumbent in a Republican, the incumbent Republican in a Republican?
First of all, my goal would be to increase by doubling the last number of voters we had within each county. Some counties are not that many, so we're talking about going from 200 to 400. But that's number one. Number two is I have planned to have a coffee break for tea drinkers. We have good straight ticket voting, and they laid it very well here in campaign. But number one, like I said, we need to increase the number of voters we have. We need to have more straight ticket voters. Thirdly, we need to go out, now that the primary is behind us, the Republican candidate up and down our district has already decided on who their local judge is. All the local elections are decided. So now the only option they have is to decide whether to have Williams re-elected or somebody who represents them in the district. In that context, I am prepared and I have no problem talking to Republicans who have questions about their own representation. And that would be in terms of the need to grab the additional margin on the Republican side as well as the independents. The strategy has to be one where you have to force Mr. Williams out to talk. He would do the same thing he did to the land, nada, to use the old term. And consequently, I am prepared to provoke a man into a reaction. And by that I mean, for example, I planned a debate sponsored by high school students who are almost 18 or will be by If you don't force the issue, nothing will happen, and we will be lost. We have to not so much advertise the Democrats at that point. We have to get the Republicans to stop a minute, drink a cup of coffee with you, and address the issues. You ask me, for example, what's the last weapon you fired with the precision of gun control? I have no problem saying the last weapon was an M60 machine gun. I have no problem saying I believe weapons rights would help in decisions. As well as for a man, we never talk about the sectors. Let's be honest, that's part of the equation. So the thing, you have to go out, face the challenge, and address it directly. With my military training, I never was to say, well, maybe we will succeed in this battle or not. You plan to win, and that's what I have to do. Go out there and face and get into the dirt and the mud to get to the end of the campaign road. But that's when everybody's out together and okay. So I don't know. It's not an easy task. I'm not going to lie to you. I'm going to be direct. This is the hardest battle I probably have in my life. Getting to that point of saying we have replaced the civilians with representation.
Well, I just want to answer the question that the lady back there asked as well. And we do have a very tough battle to defeat a Republican incumbent. But we've got a number of issues that are in our favor. We've got Wendy Davis and Leticia Vanderkeet at the top of the ticket. They're going to bring in some coattails. That's probably going to be a few percentage points. We've got voters that are upset about what Congress is doing in general. That's going to help us a little bit. We've got people that are upset about specific issues. I talked about the fracking in the northern part of the counties. People are getting really incensed about that. They are feeling that nobody's listening to them about that, and we've got to mine those issues in those areas where we can get support, and I think we'll get a lot of support from that. We also, throughout the district, have people who see Congress trampling on women's health care issues. And people are getting upset about that. Not just women, but men as well. I mean, everybody wants a fair shake when it comes to health care issues. We have got to get health care costs down. People see that the health care costs are high. When they see that there's a candidate who will work on getting those health care costs down, they will help support that candidate. So not only do the issues fall in our favor, but we've got to get boots on the ground. We've got to look at the data and go to the places where the data is good for us. We've got to work with Battleground Texas to identify places where we can register new voters, and we've got to get this happening. Not only do we have to elect a Democrat to this office, and I want to be that person that you elect, but we've got to elect a Democratic House of Representatives as well.
I'm just going to add, I respectfully accept any help we can get from Wendy Davis. I think it's very important for you to elect. However, I must confess to you that I have a battle separate to that, because I can't depend on anybody. I have to go out and fight that battle. And hopefully she can bring in some reinforcement. But this is a terrible, hard battle ahead of us, and we better face up to it. But we only got 800 people voting in the primary last time for Lane. We have a problem, ladies and gentlemen. If we only got an 18% turnout, and that's good in this precinct, we have a problem, ladies and gentlemen. No matter how angry I am in Congress, forget all the voting, because they're going to make any difference. I can tell you, being Hispanic, many of my friends who registered won't vote because they say, what the heck difference will it make? It doesn't just depend on having somebody, Battleground Texas, or anybody else do the work for you. This, like I said, is a battle. If we're going to win, if we're going to take this seat, if we're we're going to actually go to Congress. And I've been there, I walked the halls, so I'm not intimidated. I'm going. But if we're going to succeed, if we're going to have victory, we better get up and get out the vote and make sure everybody shows up at the primary. Don't wait for Wendy to come. She's got her own battles to fight. And don't wait for Battleground Texas to do it. They've got to do it the best they can. But they did not get to bring you reinforcements. When you plan a military battle, we are in a battle to win. Let's put it bluntly. If we do not plan on our own reinforcements, we're by ourselves. And don't expect Wendy or Leticia, great woman that she is, to say, oh, I know Marco, I'll send him some money. It's more than that. And so I'm telling you, if we want to win, if you want to pick between both of us here today, okay? I will tell you directly, this is not fun, this is hard. And we better get used to the fact that the weather is going to be cold again in the next few days. And it's going to be awfully hot in the summer. And you better be prepared to go out there. And I've done it before. That's why they train me well in basic and other places in the area. And I'm prepared to do it. I have a passion for this. I will be devoting my whole life to be your representative coming up next week.
I completely agree that we have to do the work to get the votes out there. I'm saying that there are resources out there that are going to help us, and we have to work both on our campaigns and as people to try to convince people that they need to vote Democratic this time around. I've been a delegate in previous conventions at the county and state levels, and I know what it takes to get people out.
Let's thank all our wonderful leaders. And if you are interested, can stay and have pizza and meet some new fellow friends and the